Hey everyone, it is Jeremy again back for another video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about my favorite alpha male characters. And I also want to pose the question on why these type of characters and these types of books are so popular in adult romance today. Now, there's one of these that's a little bit controversial, just a little bit, and I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of him, but this is going to be mostly a discussion. But these are all books. These are 5 series that I am mostly a fan of. One's still up for debate in a lot of ways, but I'm just going to show you the first book of each series and talk about the alpha male in these series. First one we have is Gabriel's Inferno by Sylvain Renard. Once again, these are all first books. The alpha male in this one is Gabriel Emerson. He is the more soft of these, at least based on the first book. I've only read this one, so I haven't read the other two in the series, so I don't know if he changes into this alpha male character, but based on this one, he is very rich, very powerful. He is a professor at a huge university in Toronto, Canada, so that could be, that's another level of, he can be quite arrogant because he's got all this money, all this power, and etc. Next one is, I'm sure, you're going to really be surprised with this one, and that is 50 Shades of Grey, and obviously I am talking about Christian Grey in this one. Like I said, I'm still torn with him. I'm not a fan of this series necessarily. They're still fluffy and fun reads. You can read something that is highly problematic and still find enjoyment out of it. It's just fun. It's fun, it's flaky, it's fun, and he is most definitely very dominant. He's into dom and sub type relationships. He's into BDSM, and he is definitely an alpha male if I ever saw one. So yeah, definitely with this one. And then we have Captive in the Dark by C.J. Roberts. And the main character of this one is Caleb. I don't remember his last name ever being mentioned, so we're just going to call him Caleb in here. This one is kind of a revenge story type series, very dark, as I mentioned in one of my unread videos. I have read this whole series. It's actually the only one here that I've read the whole series of. And Caleb is very possessive, incredibly possessive. He is very possessive, he's very controlling. A lot of these guys are controlling, except for Gabriel Emerson, of course. He's abusive towards Livy, a big time. He's a horrible human being. But it also brings to light human sex trafficking. Once again, I said in this, and C.J. Roberts wrote this series to bring awareness that this is shit that happens. Livy falls in love with Caleb. Stockholm Syndrome is a fucking thing, and she wasn't romanticizing human sex trafficking while she was writing this series. She was bringing awareness, and she was saying that, that Caleb is not a horrible human being all the time. He has every reason to why he's doing what he's doing, and you find that out, and it is a mindfuck because you're not expecting it. And this is one of the most darkest and most disturbing novels I've ever read. And honestly, I have no idea how I'm going to get through reviewing this book. It's a short book, but man, it packs a huge punch. And then we have Bared to You by Sylvia Day. This is book 1 of the Crossfire series. It's a series of 5 books. Just putting that out there. And the alpha male in this series is Gideon Cross. The man I have so much love for. He is an alpha male, but he's not. Oh, I love the man. I love him, and I've only read book 1. So I'm going to try to have this whole series read by the end of 2018 because I need to know what happens. It's been 3 years since I've read this book, and I think it's going to be fun to be able to reread this because I loved everything in here, and I think I'm just going to have a lot of fun being able to revisit this book and fall in love with it all over again. But yeah, Gideon Cross, back to you. And the last one on my list is This Man by Jodi Ellen Malpez, and the alpha male in this one is Jesse Ward. So these are all ones I'm a fan of, except for 50 Shades of Grey. Like, it depends on the context that you're talking about it. You know, a lot of people always judge the question, why are alpha male characters and why are books like this so popular in adult romance today? You know, and primarily a lot of people reading these books are adult women and young women, like 20 to 40, maybe older women. There's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of men who read erotica. Men just watch porn. But to me, that's an awful stereotype of men. I'm not like most people, so, and I'm definitely not like most guys either. I've always kind of seen myself as somebody who is a bit of a rebel and does whatever I want. I don't care what other people think of me. I do whatever the fuck I want. If people don't like it, then they can fuck off. That's just how I feel. I haven't always been like that, but I like that kind of self-confidence that I'm trying to build. And so when I read these kinds of books and seeing these, you know, alpha male characters, I'm like, I would never do that. Like, not as treating like, I mean, all these books treat their female partners fairly well. Except for Christian Grey, of course. But, I mean, like, Jesse and Jess, like, I'm looking over here, I'm looking at my stack of books, like, Jesse and Gideon and, okay, well, Caleb and Christian are the ones, there are the two exceptions, and, you know, so, for the most part, This Man, Bare to You, and Gabriel's Inferno, so, and I'm sure there's so many more books that have alpha male characters. I only picked the ones off my shelves that I know for a fact they were alpha male, and even, Gabriel Emerson can be a little iffy, because when I was reading Gabriel's Inferno, when I read it 3 years ago, he didn't come off as an alpha male character. But there's a trope that goes with these kinds of books, and it's the man in the relationship, because it's always a man-female relationship. It's always a man and woman relationship, and it is always these are the tropes. The man is rich as fuck. He's got millions of dollars. The female character, or the male character, has got the biggest tragic-ass backstory you ever did see, and it prevents them from being together. Or it prevents them to completely be together with no blocks in front of them. And for me, it's becoming a fucking trope in every one of these series. I really would like to see, I mean, have all the money in the world. If that's something you want attached to your male characters, that's fine. I don't mind reading that. But for me, personally, I kind of am tired of the tragic backstory storyline when it comes to adult romance, and it's something that I really, really wish that we would just stop seeing. The basic question I want to end this discussion on is, why are these kinds of books so popular? And why are they so popular in adult women? Honestly, I feel like women like to read romance. I am a romance reader myself. You know, I've always loved a good romance novel, especially when it comes to contemporary. All of these books are contemporary, all of them. And I think the reason why these books are so, you know, I think, you know, women like to explore female sexuality. All of these books are in a female's perspective. I don't mind reading them. I think all of them are very well written, except for 50 Shades of Grey, obviously. But I think the borderline question on why these kinds of books are so popular is because Well, I think women like to explore sexuality. I think they like to explore the um, the idea of connecting with somebody, and maybe through reading these kinds of books they can find that. And at the very same time, I think we also find ourselves lost, and maybe we can find ourselves in a lot of these characters. But what I love about adult romance, especially, and a lot of these are kind of erotica, um, Gabriel's Inferno is not, and neither is Captive in the Dark. But 50 Shades, Bear to You, and This Man are all erotica series. But what I love with the genre of erotica is it's not just sex. There's almost, I love the stories that come with that kind of a relationship because it's so much more interesting. You know, I would much rather read a adult contemporary erotic romance than read a YA book because I'm much more enthralled with adult romance. There's always so much more to it, and it's so fascinating, and more often than not, I can't seem to put some of these books down. When I was reading This Man, you know, and our main character in this book is Ava. Small note here. Small note. And I will go back to this, but I want to show you guys this. The main female protagonist's name is Anna, also known as Anastasia. The main for this is Eva, and the main character of this book is Ava. Ava, Eva, Anna. Really? 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 It's time to come up with some new names that don't sound so similar to authors. Like, seriously? They're way too similar. It's time to start something new. But anyway, when I picked up this book, I was completely enthralled with it. This book is 450 pages long, and I couldn't put it down. I read this in probably about a week's time, and for me, that's really, really good. And I read all three. This whole series was a binge. I was obsessed with these books when I was reading them, and this is another series I'm really looking forward to reviewing for you guys. I may even review them in their own video because I don't really see people talking about these books in depth, and I think we should. I think these are great books. But this is just kind of the discussion that just kind of popped into my head that I wanted to talk about it because I feel like no one else really does. But I think that's why alpha male books and characters and these types of books are so popular. People, and a lot of these books, people want to say, well, that's abuse. I think there was some level of abuse in 50 Shades. I really believe that. But we are acknowledging it. We know that it's there. So I can pick up that book and I can enjoy it for what it is. It's a fluffy read for me. You know, a lot of these books are rather fluffy. They're not. And I also feel like a lot of the people who downright protest 50 Shades and a lot of books like it, I feel like I understand. Like, I mean, if the book wasn't a phenomenon, would they be protesting it? Probably not. Mainly because no one's buying it, no one's reading it, so it can't harm anybody. This book originally was self-published. Look on Goodreads. The reviews for this are nothing but awful. So, it is what it is, but I think that's why these kinds of books tend to be so popular. Just kind of how it is. But let me know what you guys think on this topic if you read these kinds of books. If you're women, or even if you're not women, I'm a man and I read them and I get a lot of enjoyment out of them. I will talk to you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.